Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to HBCU Game Day. I got a couple of my boys from the SWAC here today because it's another edition of Dum 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 as the SWAC turns. A lot going on. There's always a lot going on. Let's start with the dean of the SWAC, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill. Doc, give us a little context here, man. There's been a lot of chatter the last couple of days, starting late last week, that the Southland Conference had their eyes on some of the boys in the SWAC. Now, the Southland has been dealing with some of their Texas school have up and rolled out, and they're looking for some replacement players in the conference. I kind of chuckled. I don't see anybody leaving the SWAC, but I didn't see A&T leaving the MEAC for the Big South, so stranger things have happened. School us a bit, Dean of the SWAC. Well, what's going on there, if anything?
Well, this is for entertainment purposes, so let's dig right into it. As you talk about the Southland, they drove away. Depending on who you talk about, the Texas schools or the Louisiana schools, they'll say that they drove away the Texas schools because they were not sharing in the revenue. They did not distribute the revenue. So you had Lamar, Sam Houston State, Stephen F. Austin, along with one private institution, Abilene Christian, moved over and they joined the WAC. Central Arkansas said, well, we see what's going on here in the Southland, and they went east. Some went west. They went east, my friends, and they went into the Atlantic Sun, as you know by now. We'll get back to the crux of this. They decided, and when I say they, the Southland Conference commissioner, and you have some within the Southland Conference that are talking about, let's bring in some HBCUs. You have others that want to go to Division II route. So it floated out there that they said, well, if we're going to go for an HBCU, let's get a couple of them. Let's get the two from Texas, the two from Louisiana. And now it really gets exciting because people are like, are you for real?
Are you for real? Or are you for Roni? Let's bring in Charles Bishop here from the pregame show. Charles, is there any scenario where you would see any movement going out of the SWAC as opposed to coming into the SWAC?
I don't foresee that. When you take a look at the upward trajectory of where the SWAC is right now, it just doesn't make common sense to leave the Southwestern Athletic Conference in terms of the way it's looking right now. So much excitement going forward. And then I think Dr. Cavill, he mentioned that the financial component of what the SWAC is doing now just doesn't make any financial sense to leave the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
All right, if you're hanging out with us at hbcugameday.com, just hold on a second. We're going to switch over to part 2 of this conversation as the SWAC turns. If you're on YouTube, just hang in there, baby. We're going to give you the whole thing, all right? Okay, so we're back. Guys, we talked about the Southland Conference and trying to look over there, trying to get something started in the SWAC. But there is some movement with players going in and out. It's been a turnstile both ways with the transfer portal. Prairie View A&M, Story Jackson, we found out today that he's going to be leaving. I think Jackson State had another. We've seen some players showing off their their offers with some SWAC schools. Charles, I know you and I kind of talked about it last week that, hey, relax. This is part of the process. Dr. Cavill, haven't had a chance to catch up with you. This has been more active than we've ever seen. I say some of it's COVID related because of that extra year of eligibility. But there's a lot of players leaving the SWAC, going to the FBS, maybe to see if the grass is greener. What's been your take on all the transactional activity here?
Well, one of the reasons we said that teams were not necessarily leaving the SWAC is what we said, show me the money. That probably is the opposite way. That's a dirty little secret out there now that many people are starting to see, that the coaches are not necessarily all what they dress up to be, especially at this FBS level. They have a nice revenue stream in terms of what they get for their contracts, and they believe they must win. So they're going to turn over every rock they can to get the talent. And sometimes if that means literally poaching, sending out a signal, whether it's through a player or a back signal, if you want to use that terminology, they're going to go find out who they want to get. And those players that play really well at the FCS level, particularly in the SWAC that we keep our eyes on, they're going to drive a lot of buzz and a lot of interest. And that's where coaches are coming to find a way to see if they can get some of these players to turn over and say, hey, You want to get a little bit of this FBS life? Come on with us.
And Charles, the coaches have been up front. This is the new level of recruiting. It just is what it is. It's almost more of a sure thing, even though it may be a shorter shelf life, because you at least have a better idea of what you're going to get as opposed to a high school senior not knowing if they're going to be able to make that transition to college, right?
No doubt about it. And then what you're seeing is our coaches are finding some gems in the SWAC. Story Jackson, if not for Jordan Lewis, probably would have been the SWAC Defensive Player of the Year. When you take a look at Story Jackson in Prairie View, he's averaging close to 17 tackles a game, and he was a Buck Buchanan finalist. He's one of those individuals you had to always account for on the field, and he effectively ended that Prairie View Grambling game with a strip sack at the end of that game. So he's a playmaker. So that's a huge chess piece that falls off the board for the Southwestern Athletic Conference.
Hey, kudos to Charles. Anybody that can, in rhythm, say strip, sack, fumble without stumbling over that. And with the story about Story Jackson, a strip sack by Story. You win the Tongue Twister Award today, Charles. Good stuff, man.
I'll take it.
He's Charles Bishop from the pregame show, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill. Thanks for hanging out with us at HBCUGameDay.com. We're going to give you a little bonus material in a second. Hold tight if you're on YouTube as we continue the conversation. And guys, let's pick it up here. News of the day. I had no idea that Alabama State University did not have a Hall of Fame. I just assumed every school has a Hall of Fame. Alabama State has everything else. They got a little mini dome. They got a big old football stadium. They got facilities galore, but no Hall of Fame. So this is a great discussion to have. Who's going to go into this newly founded Alabama State Hall of Fame? I'm going to defer to you guys because I might as well print it on my forehead, East Coast bias. I grew up CIAA in MEAC, so my SWAC memories don't go. I told Neely today, he has more SWAC memories lost in his beard than I could ever have in my brain. Who are some front runners that you think guys will have a lot of consideration when you talk about this first class at Alabama State? Charles, who jumps out to you?
From a football perspective, I think you have to start with Houston Markham in terms of what he was able to do at Alabama State over this 10-year period, winning as football coach in Alabama State football history. You talk about names such as Ricky Jones, Reggie Barlow. I tell you, those are guys, Eddie Robinson Jr., Darnell Kennedy. Those are the names that really jump out for me in terms of football. And then from a basketball perspective, Lewis Jackson, Freeman Jackson, both have done tremendous work at Alabama State. So I think those are the names that you will see get the early preference, if you will, in the Alabama State Hall of Fame.
Hey, Doc, the first class, man, that'll be political right there, man. There's going to be some feelings involved.
It's going to be very political who gets that first nod. And you have some of these folks that are in the SWAC Hall of Fame. You talk about Jackson, he's in the SWAC Hall of Fame. So how can you be in the SWAC Hall of Fame and not in your Alabama State Hall of Fame, other than the fact that previously you didn't have a Hall of Fame, which, as you said, shocked everybody. Just thinking about it, you don't even think twice because you believe everybody has it. But it happens. So I was sticking with basketball. Lewis, to do it as a player, remember during his time when he was playing, he was leading the nation, one of the best scorers out there in terms of what he was able to do. And then he turned it into, as assistant coach, brought championships. As a head coach, he brought more championships. So you have to believe he's on the short list. And then you go outside of that and you have to start talking about what recently has been done on the baseball diamond in terms of the baseball team. There's a lot of folks in the track and field as they have dominated that over the 5 years. So those are some sports that you have to consider that we don't always think about because we mainly are looking at football, men's and women's basketball. So I would throw out some of those sports because of what they've been able to do recently, although they may be on the short list in terms of eligibility.
So they're going to have their first induction during the football season of 2022. So this will be a first for what will be their new athletic director. We know Jennifer L. Williams is going to work for USA Basketball, running their foundation. Guys, what do you think Alabama State should do? Should they take their time here with the AD position where football season is just under going to be just underway in just a few weeks, at least practice. Should they try to get somebody in there quick? Any gut feelings on the AD position there at ASU?
I certainly think that you have to be pretty, you have to do your due diligence. I don't want to get that twisted, but I think you have to be pretty fast about moving forward with this move. Usually there's a plan in place of what type of direction you want to go into. They automatically said they was going to do a search, so there wasn't somebody they really wanted to look at strongly in terms of the interim role, which in my mind means that they plan to fill the slot pretty fast.
Charles, this is a nice job. I mean, if you look at the HBCU AD positions on the D1 level, open or not, this has to be one of the top ones, definitely in the SWAC.
No doubt about it. I mean, I think you touched on it. They are a jewel within the conference in terms of the facilities, the history, and the fan base. So, like Doc mentioned, they have to do their due diligence to get the right person to come in and cultivate what they already have at Alabama State.
A lot of RVs in Montgomery, Doc, and whenever I see black folks in RVs, I'm thinking there's some money in there somewhere, man.
They'll believe it.
And Tyler, they have a really good budget. A quiet secret at Alabama State in
That's
terms
what I'm
of
saying.
as you talking about the money, a lot of it is not only what they'll pay the salary of an athletic director, but the athletic director is going to work with a significant budget. And anybody, as you know, will tell you in this business, part of your success is how much money you have at your disposal.
Yeah, that's what my wife tells me all the time. What you working with?
I won't let you hang out there by yourself, Tom. Mine too.
Yeah, same here.
Hey, we all in the same boat, man, rowing to nowhere. Well, that's today's edition of As the SWAC Turns. Hanging out with some of my homeboys from the SWAC, of course, from the pregame show. He's Charles Bishop. And you know the dean of the SWAC, Dr. Kenyatta Cavill. Check him out on Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. You might see me up there a time or two. Hey, fellas, it's been real. It's been fun. Thanks for hanging out with us here at HBCU Game Day.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.